Hi and welcome. So this time around we have another tool to review, and it goes back to the fiasco with the hard hinge 2J collet chuck that I thought was a 5C collet chuck, because the worst part of that whole mess was that I sold my existing 5C collet chuck because I was so excited and I had tried it and it fit, and I didn't actually try tightening any parts in the chuck, so wasn't aware that it wouldn't actually tighten all the way until it was too late, and I'd actually sold the 5C chuck. And I use 5C chucks a lot. I thought about switching to ER40, but I don't have any ER40, machinable collets, like emergency collets. So I thought I'd go back and get the 5C, get another 5C collet chuck. So what I did was I purchased from All Industrial. Let me spin this around. Very good company here in Southern California, and they're not sponsoring this, didn't give me any discounts, but for me they're pretty awesome because they're located, I don't know, like 60 miles away, 50 miles away, and I get their stuff next day. They ship same day. I ordered this yesterday at 3:45 and I got it today. I figured I ordered it so late in the day that there's no way I was going to get it, and I still got it. They're pretty amazing customer service. They really fulfill orders quickly. If there's any problems, I've had returns once, and they were no problem at all. They were great. So let's open this guy up and see what's in here. Nice packaging, a box within a box, adds extra protection. So what this is a Pratt Bernard Atlas 5C collet chuck, very similar to the hard hinge I attempted to get. That was a total fail. Let's just rub that in. So I really lost my my shirt on that one, because not only did I have to pay for shipping back, but then I'd sold my other collet chuck at a discount, and well, anyways, enough of that. So let's pop this guy out of here and see what we've got. The other box was simply too big to fit on my bench. That's why I shot it that way. So let's pop this guy open here. My bench, as anyone's seen, is full of stuff. Some of it's props just for visual interest, and some of it's stuff that I found so interesting that I couldn't bear to just throw away. Kind of like things like this, pieces out of the old hardness tester I have that was broken that I was going to fix, but couldn't find any parts for. And anyways, that was another fiasco, but now I've got this one that I'm really happy with. Oh, nice. So packaging within packaging. And Stekowitz's ghost turds. Nobody likes ghost turds. Okay. They just get everywhere. Static disasters. There's the D16 mounts. Putting ghost turds in these things is just cruel. But this wasn't All Industrial's doing. This was Pratt Bernard that put the ghost turds in here. That was their box that they shipped to All Industrial. So, by the way, if I'm mispronouncing their name, I apologize. Alrighty, so here's the chuck, and you can see the scroll rotating inside that rotates the threaded portion that captures the bottom of the 5C. It's pretty smooth. Only the tiniest bit of slop. Wonder if this is for oil or for grease. That's same as what the hard hinge had. These 4 bolts here not only hold the top piece on, but they mount the adapter plate on the back, the D16 adapter plate, which is really nicely machined. That's actually very pretty. So on my D16 collet mount on the lathe, it seems that if I tighten these down so the line is just barely visible, it works out pretty well for me. So I'm going to start there, and if I have to make adjustments, I will. If you're curious what I mean, see the line, you tighten it down so that the slotted portion is facing the screw head that locks it in place, but make a turn until it just barely is proud. So, they're all slightly different. That's kind of interesting. So I might actually have to make some adjustments here, but we'll start there. It tends to be pretty close. I tried putting one of these in before without putting the locking screws in, you can't really do it, because when you're tightening it down, it'll tend to want to rotate this, and then it won't want to lock in place. So you have to use the locking screws. So just suck it up and do it. These are surprisingly short. I think these are the shortest length screws I've ever seen for this particular application. Next step, after you've got these guys in, what they want you to do is they want you to take the chuck itself off of the adapter plate and run a facing cut 5 to 10 thousandths to true up the face of this with your particular lathe. I'll be curious to see how far off it is, so let's go over and measure. Alrighty, before we put this guy on, I make sure that this is completely clean, that there's no bits of dirt in any part of the mating surface. Notice I've got a mark on my chuck here. That's so you can always put a chuck on the same way. So after I get this guy trued up and I'm satisfied with it, I'm going to put a mark on this one to match. I always tend to tighten these in a circle, so I just make them a little bit snug first time around. And then lock them into place on the second one. So they're all slightly different, interestingly enough, but they do line up nicely. Yeah, the locking points aren't all quite the same. I could try a rotation, but it tends to be a pretty coarse adjustment, so I think that might be too much. So I have to put this in gear. Metric screws to hold the face plate on, or the chuck itself on. So this is ground in here. Very beautifully ground, as a matter of fact. Very, very pretty. So it says that you only need to face this inside part here. This is a relief section. It looks like almost it sticks up because it's an optical illusion, but in fact, it sits right here. So this is the mating surface. So this is all you have to run a facing cut on. Let's see how flat it is. Notice I always have a piece of wood under to protect the ways from dropping a chuck or any other parts on it while I'm servicing. Well, the mating surface they've got here is within a couple of tenths. Let me zoom you in there, see if you can get a decent shot of that. So they did a really nice job right off the bat. So I'm not even going to take a facing cut on this. It's already close enough. So next step will be to mount the chuck back, and then you loosely tighten the 4 bolts, and then you put the indicator in the bore and you tap the bore into concentric. You know, I should also, just for the heck of it, that was the inside face. What if couple of tenths again. All right, so I'm going to call that good. I'm not going to mess with it for now. Again, back of the chuck, I'm going to remove all the dust from the back of this guy, and I'm going to clean up the face of this guy same way. I mean, I like the oil there because it protects it, but I want the mating surfaces to match as perfectly as I can. That is a really good fit. So they left a little bit of slop here, and I think that's specifically to let you knock this guy around a little bit. Last step is to rotate the chuck and dial it in, and it looks like it's as much as 3 thousandths out. So I've got those lightly snug. Let's see, we got to go We're about 4/10 out right now. I'm going to try and get that a little better. Okay. Last check now that I got it all tightened up. Okay, I'm gonna loosen, tighten it a couple more times because right now I'm about 4/10 out, and I think I can do better than that. I think they spec on their sheet 6/10, so I'm well within the spec they suggest, but I'm going to try it better. Some instructions that came with this, interestingly enough, is do not run more than 2,500 RPM, and do not run over more than 150 RPM if you don't have a 5C collet in. That's good to know. I would not have thought of that. So that's always good to know. Kind of curious about the port to see if it's an oil port, and they don't say. I'm going to call Pratt and find out if this is for oil or for grease, because I've been told that they sometimes use grease circ fittings for oil, and this looks like it had oil in it, so I'm going to go with that. All right, so I fidgeted with some more, and I got it within about 2/10, plus or minus 1/10 on the scale, maybe a little more than that. Well within the 6/10 that they suggest. All right, so I've got a 1/2-inch pin in here, and it's tracking just a little bit worse than what I was measuring before by maybe 1/10. That's about it. So that's a good sign. So let's see how this guy spins. Let's start it slow since they recommend that. So we will start, here's 70 RPM. Absolutely no problem. Everything seems nice and tight. Let's go to 440. Beautiful. So my lathe only goes up to 1800, which I never use. Here's 1120. Very nice, very smooth. All right, so it's good enough to risk putting the mark on. Didn't want to do it in case I had to return it, obviously. Well, alrighty. I've got the chuck marked, so with my alignment mark on the mounting point on my lathe, and so now I can get this on the same way every time. It's very, very smooth getting the 5C chucks in and out. Very, very pleased with it. Pretty nice quality. So if anyone's interested, I will put a link in the description below for All Industrial and this part on their website. Just a little hint, All Industrial also sells on eBay, and their prices on eBay are even better than their website, although I suspect if you called them, they'd match those prices. So anyways, very pleased with this. Now I can use 5C collets again, and I'm back in business. Thanks for watching. Hope you find it useful. Hope to see you next time.